Grief is loss, period. It can be a divorce. It's a loss. Grieving is a loss of something. And it could be a divorce. It could be, I mean, it doesn't have to be just in a sense of a loss of a loved one, that we tend to, especially if we are the ones that kind of feel like they need to hold it together for the family, we kind of stuff that. We don't have time for that. We have to, um, our concern is for to help get our loved ones or our children or family members through it. And so, especially primary caregivers, they tend to really kind of just set that aside and figure they'll get to it. The problem with that is that we bury that, and it never really goes away. And so it tends to resurface in other ways if we allow that. So part of it is for one thing, listening to somebody. That in itself is huge. Holding space for them, allowing them to really talk about it. When we're saying it and then we hear it for ourselves, you understand it in a different way. And I help people walk through that so they can actually sit with it, understand it, and move through it rather than push it aside. This is going to sound silly, but about once every few weeks or once a month, whenever I could had the opportunity, I would get in my vehicle and I would hit the nearest freeway and I would turn music on and allow myself to feel everything about it. Scream, cry, whatever. Typically I do it at night so nobody saw it. But and really feel that, and I would get to a certain point and okay, I'm good. I got it out. So, and I would head back. And furthermore, I didn't want I had to stay, I felt I had to stay strong for my children, for my family. So I didn't want them to see me breaking down. And I also, I just personally, I don't like to break down in front of people, especially strangers. So for me, we call it the car concert. that was a perfect way for me to get it all out and think, okay, I'm good. I can come back.
In your experience through being a hospice nurse, so being there with people who are at the end of their life's journey and getting ready to cross over, spiritually speaking, what have you learned?
I mean, I'm just going to be honest. It was
Yes.
it was a struggle. I couldn't explain when I became a hospice nurse. There were things you just couldn't explain that didn't make sense. I would go into a room and I would physically feel goosebumps when spirit was in the room, when their loved ones were about to come, when they were about to pass. At one point, I was with another nurse, and I was didn't dare tell anybody any of this, right? And I had actually been with that patient, and she was taking over the case. I was kind of helping out, so she asked that I come meet with her to help orient them and introduce, and transfer the care. And so we had both walked in that room, and I knew I could feel the presence of her loved one, or the patient's loved ones on the other side in the room. But I didn't say a word about it because, you're crazy if you say that kind of stuff. So we ended up doing the transfer of care. And as I'm walking out to my car to leave, the other nurse comes behind me and she says, "Hey, come here a second." She said, "Did you feel those spirits in the room?" And I thought, "You did too?" And so over time we started, I mean, it was just too many things. People that hadn't spoke in months or even a year were speaking in Latin. They were speaking in Italian. They were answering questions. I will tell you, I met some incredible people, and I would say the Father Michael's prayer. Lord, lead me where you want me to go today. Have me meet who you want me to meet. Tell me what you want me to say and keep me out of your way. And I would have these most incredible experiences that you cannot explain. And so I really struggled with that. And I would pray about it and pray about it and pray about it. And every time it would be Here you go. Here's another example. Here's another example. Here's another example. What I want to go back to in simple terms is we understand that energy cannot be created or destroyed, only transformed.
Good point.
So I have learned that this is our vehicle, our vessel here, our temple, and it is to get us from one place to the other as human beings and physical, right? It has actually been scientifically proven that the soul has a weight. It's a small weight, but when the soul, they have actually weighed. If anyone wants to watch Surviving Death, that's a very interesting series. But they've actually weighed a person before they had passed, and then again once the soul left, and there is a small difference in weight. When you look at it that way, they're not really gone, but they are. I do feel them here when we have an abrupt change in a job, or in any situation, really, a relationship issue, or things that are really heavy on our hearts. They're here for us. They're here when I have gotten to the point now where I can actually feel them. My body just responds, and I have no control over it. And I'll get tingles in my head. It feels like they're playing with my hair, or I'll get, goose pimples, or I'll have a ringing in my ear, a light tone, or something to make me pay attention. And I've just been around it so much and seen so many incredible things that I know better. I just don't know how else to explain it. And you know what I have found, just what I've noticed, and like I said, it could be far more to it, is that either it's something we've always been, to find your purpose is what I'm getting at. In my case, I'll speak for myself. There was just so much destruction around me. And I was really at that point where I thought, what is the point? Why are we doing this? There has to be a reason. What I was finding is when I see people come into their purpose, and boy, does it change your whole, it just changes everything. It's either something that they have been passionate about, things that I've done that since I was a little kid. I've been doing art since I was a child. I have been passionate about this topic as far as I can remember. Or it's something that they have visited over and over and over again. It is something that they continue to go through. They continue to have these lessons on it. At some point, you look back and you went, wait a second. I've been training for this my entire life. And then I realized I had to have those experiences in various ways so that I could help other people through those. So that I can help someone who's dealing with Alzheimer's dementia. And when you start recognizing that you keep going through these situations, similar situations over and over and over again, there's a reason for that. Either it's a lesson or a blessing, and usually both. We just have to get through those experiences, because I can tell anybody anything I want to tell them. And until they have their own experience, most of them will never understand it. Until they have something so so jaw-dropping, so no doubt about it, that it doesn't matter whether people believe them or not. They know, like they know, like they know. And most times, unfortunately, we have to have that personal experience to understand that in that way, And we are so important. What we do, what we experience, who we are is so important. And yet we don't feel important, but we are. We don't realize the importance of things. We don't realize how everything works so perfectly and in tune and together, and how we are such an important part of not just the universe, but for each other. And I can't tell you how many times people have ended their lives and had no idea how important they were. They had no idea the effect or the impact it had on others. And I think we all kind of feel like we're insignificant sometimes. And we'd have to just understand you are very important. You are necessary.